Today, the Supreme Court expected to hear a landmark case that could shift the foundations of internet law. This all stems from an American student killed in Paris during a terror attack in 2015. Tom Dempsey joining us live right now from Washington, D.C. with what we know about this case, Tom. And really, it's quite fascinating. It's kind of interesting that we're talking about it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Make no mistake, this case is going to impact websites that our viewers use every day, sites like Facebook and YouTube. The question really at the core of this case is, should websites be held liable for content that users post to those websites? The case dates back to 2015, to the awful terrorist attacks that happened across Paris that killed over 100 people. One of those victims was 23-year-old college student, Noemi Gonzalez from California, who was studying abroad in Paris. Again, she was one of 130 victims from that day. And in response, her family sued Google for allegedly helping to spread extremist content that radicalized users into becoming terrorists. Again, ISIS were the ones responsible for that terrorist attack. The family accuses Google of not doing enough to keep terrorists off its websites. Now, at the core of this case is what's known as Section 230. It's part of the Communications Decency Act, passed by Congress all the way back in 1996. Again, we're getting a little technical here, but to make things simple, that allows websites like Facebook, Google, and YouTube not to be sued for content posted by users. This case brings plenty of debate, as you can imagine. The family of Noemi Gonzalez wants to see Section 230 removed and wrote this in their complaint, quote, "ISIS has used YouTube to cultivate and maintain an image of brutality, to instill fear and intimidation, and to appear unstoppable by disseminating videos and images of numerous beheadings and other brutal killings." But on the other hand, supporters of Section 230 worry about what could happen if it gets struck down. In support of Google, Meta wrote this in a statement, quote, "Exposing companies to liability for decisions to organize and filter content would incentivize them to simply remove more content in ways Congress never intended." It's interesting to note, Adrienne, that, it's almost weird to note here in D.C. that this issue has gotten support from both Democrats and Republicans. They agree on this issue, generally speaking, that Section 230 should be removed. Democrats say more effort should be done to crack down on hate speech and misinformation, while Republicans argue that changes are needed due to alleged bias against conservative voices. Now, tomorrow, there's a similar case being heard, this one involving Twitter and allegations that content posted to Twitter back in 2017 led to an awful terrorist attack inside of a nightclub in Turkey that led to 39 people being murdered. So, again, a really interesting case being heard here and an interesting debate being heard on both sides with this, Adrienne.
Well, we spoke to a former Superior Court judge in our first hour, and it was just very clear to me that they're having so many discussions in Washington about the safety of the internet for children. But how much more do we need safety domestically for those who could cause severe harm, not just to our children, but to our families, to our communities in a broad level? And I just think that because of what we're talking about with kids, it's opening the door to having more of these discussions about accountability for some of this content. Really interesting case there, Tom. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.